Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here. I'm upstate at my property. I just spent 4 hours cutting this lawn because I couldn't get up here for 2 weeks and it grew about a couple feet. So I'm finished cutting, and I have another video that I made this couple days ago, and I'm going to upload it as soon as I get home. So let's get to it. Thanks. You know, when I was a kid growing up, one of the things my dad always had is I can remember him using this tool as long as I can. It was a wire brush. He always had one in his trunk, in his toolbox. We had a couple laying around the house. It was one of those things that before he would work on something, he'd clean it up with the wire brush and whatnot. And you know, I was thinking about it today. I said I bought this. I was at Harbor Freight the other day, and picked up this one. It was $1.99. Like, I don't have enough wire brushes, right? But I said, you know, the brush is nice. They feel pretty stiff. This wood, the Chinese wood that they have a hardwood over there that's kind of unusual, and it's not too heavy. It's not the most attractive grained wood, but it does the job. And they've been using this kind of wood for years, you know. Some of these, a lot of these were made in China. A lot of them have been made in China for years. Some of them are very old. A lot of them used to have curves in them. You see that curve? That helps when you're using the wire brush not to scrape your knuckles and whatnot. They, a lot of times, if they couldn't curve the wood, or it was cheaper, instead of curving the wood, they would raise the handle a little bit. Now, over the years, you could see the differences of how these brushes were made. And, you know, the cheapest possible way, you know, like here, all these corners are very sharp, very hard on the hand when you hold this brush. Whereas years ago, they chamfered a lot of the edges, where this one isn't that old, but it's a lot more comfortable on the hand. Here's an old straight brush. You know, again, inexpensive, but it was a longer, thinner brush, easier to get into areas. A little wider brush here, but it did have the curve. Here's one, this got to be 50, 60 years old, and they call this like a lint chaser, but it's a brass brush, and obviously, you know, it was probably made for clothes back then, but it was relegated to the shop somewhere. You could see that this has obviously a lot more detail to how the handle is set up, the curvatures, even it has a finish on it. A lot of these were left unfinished. So today what I wanted to do is I want to take this Harbor Freight one I bought yesterday, the ugliest of them, and make this into an appreciation for the old wire brush. Let's get to it. Now, basically, we first started off by profiling the brush, getting that blunt tip rounded off, and then working on the handle. After this, we went over and countersunk the hole, and then took it to the belt sander. And after the belt sander, we did a little bit of hand sanding. Nothing beats hand sanding when you're doing work like this. I mean, you could feel everything that needs to be sanded with your hands. And then we vacuumed it and wiped everything down with mineral spirits, and then we coated it with gun stock, you know, that Minwax gun stock. And after that, we gave it 3 coats of shellac. And in between each coat of shellac, we just roughed it up just a little bit with some 000 or 4/0 steel wool, and that was it. And then we just did the tip. Okay, we're calling this Harbor Freight wire brush finished. Now, the reason I did this was, like I said, you know, this is more or less a practice. You're doing some other things, and I'm using the shellac, and this is a good way to get practice so you don't make the mistakes when you're dealing with something really good. But you know, I wish they would take a little bit of pride, you know, a lot of manufacturers in doing, look at how nice this ergonomically, how nice this handle feels now. The problem with a lot of the Asian wire brushes compared to the old ones that were USA made, these wires are not tempered. So in other words, if you bend them, they stay bent, you know, whereas the other ones were, you know, they'd make that boing, boing noise. But, you know, in the handle, like I said, so they, again, they're throwaways, but they get all bent up, and when these get bent up, that you toss them. And with the spring steel, they would last a lot longer. But you can see I put a little red accent on the top with that painter's tape. That's a Krylon Regal Red. This is a gun stock finish, so you know you could use this technique for any tool that you have. And just to show you what you could do with an inexpensive $2 brush, but it's still a $2 brush, but it just looks a little better. The old lipstick on a pig adage, right? All right. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Take care. Hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.